So let's look at a few examples of reflection, and then we can talk about how to simplify questions. I always talk about every time you read a question, simplify it. And I'm going to keep saying this because I want to help you out with your exam, right? When you read a question, let me not put a number. In most cases, with my experience with most students, they just get stuck like a brain freeze immediately. They see, and that was the case with the June 2020 exam. I got a lot of students saying initially, because it was a very long exam, like it looked difficult. But on second look, it wasn't actually that difficult. It was like, if you think about it, it's actually not difficult. So people read questions, they see a lot of jargon, like this whole paragraph here. By the time someone gets here, they just don't know what's going on at all. So you have to learn to simplify questions, right? And for example, this is you, right? We've done this. We've already looked at this part, right? You've got the video. If you haven't catched up, please go and catch up. 1.2. To ensure that later changes to image properties do not mean that other parts of the program have to be changed as well. The program should use reflective programming techniques. The moment you hear reflection, reflective, reflect something, whatever, you know, I'm going to be dealing with properties, defining properties, getting the values of properties, setting the values of properties, and using reflection to get the values of properties and their names. And that for loop should just pop in your mind. And I might be required to get the name of the class using reflection. Nothing else is going to be part of that question except that. Nothing, ever. Because there's certain cases where they use some technical terms that you may not understand. But again, let's finish this one off. All right. So like in this case, to ensure that later changes to the image properties do not mean that other parts of the program have to be changed as well. Now you're thinking, so what kind of changes are we talking about? And when they say other parts of the program, what parts are we talking about? People just go on a tangent off way. They start stressing about other things they shouldn't be thinking about. Just ignore those things. The question is, based on your answer to 1.1, write code for the necessary class header files so that such reflective programming can be utilized. And this is how this looks difficult for someone who is not simplifying the question. This sounds like whatever you're going to do here, it has to meet such reflective programming techniques that are going to ensure that later changes will not affect other parts of the program. So you're thinking, okay, so other parts of the program must not be affected by these other changes that will happen. So how then do we structure this class so that now reflection thing, so it becomes complicated, easy, if you think like that, right? So don't think like that. The easiest way to think about this is a question about reflection. Write the code for the necessary class header files. So your answer is going to be a class header file. That is what your answer for this question is going to be. Now the question I will pose for you is, what have you ever done to a class header file? Ever? What is there to do to a class header file under reflection? What am I talking about? If we define a class, let's say for instance, if we can quickly write the class header for an image according to question 1.1, it looks like this. Sorry. You've got class, image, and inside this class, you've got public, and under private, you've got a float. Sorry, float, which is the size, right? And you probably just have the constructor. That is what your class looks like right now. And they are saying, based on this answer, right? Because in question 1, you created an image class, you created an image list class, and you've got, only those two classes, right? So that's your class. And they are saying, now make changes to this class so that reflection can happen. And I'm saying, what have you ever done to a header? Even if the question was, here's a class, make it reflective. Even if it was like that, literally the answer would still be the same, because every time you talk about reflection, there are only two basic requirements. Your class must be a key object, it must contain a key object macro, and then you define your property. That is everything you always do. There's nothing more to do to your class header file except those three things. Make it a key object, put your macro, put your properties, done. Nothing else, ever. So that's how you simplify a question. It's a question about reflection. They are saying modify the class header. What do? You make it reflection. You make it reflective by simply making it a key object. So at this point, I'm not thinking about all those later changes to this application will make this reflective and then that. I just simplify the question. That is all I do with reflection. Okay, then define your property. Key property. How many variables or members do you have here? One. So you only need one property here. If there were two, I'd put two properties. If there were three, I'd put three properties. So anyway, I just need a property here, which is a float. Let's call it size. And obviously, you need a get and a set function. So I'm going to say get size and you've got read get size and you've got write set size. Now I can put my get and setter here. So your get function, float, get size, void, set size. Just to get and set function. Done. There is nothing else to think. And this is what I'm going to do another question with you guys, just to show you that if it's a question about reflection and the class header, there's nothing else to do. Ignore every other little thing that are in the question. Just do this, because that is everything you always do with reflection. And it's done. 5 marks. Now, which part of this question is difficult? Understanding the question. That's the part which is difficult.